When creating extraction gameplay, you need to have points of tension. Often these points are places where the players are leaving the arena to head back to a home base to cash in their loot. And when you do that, you want to make sure that they are stuck at that point for just a little bit so other players have a chance to come after them to steal the loot from them. We have examples of how we built our extraction points in the LEGO PvP extraction template. And if you want to see more of how we use them in gameplay, you can play LEGO Halloween Extraction live right now and really get a feel for what we envision for this type of extraction gameplay within the LEGO world. That being said, let's jump in and create an extraction point to use inside of our LEGO game. I've already set up the objects so you didn't have to watch me snap LEGO bricks together, but we have a couple of things. We have an elevator that's going to move up and down. We have a door that's going to cover the extraction point so players can't go in until they have called the extraction. And we have a nice lamppost here to cause some mayhem and ruckus for when they actually press the extract button. So this is the point they'll extract out of. And you'll notice I've got all my devices and pieces kind of close together right now. I like to test everything isolated to make sure it works and then plug it into my larger systems to make sure that things don't fall apart and give me a nice, easy way to troubleshoot if the connection doesn't go as smoothly as I wanted. So with this setup, let's pop up the content drawer, jump into the Fortnite folder and devices, and start by grabbing a couple of buttons. First things first, we need to rotate it so that it's facing forward. And let's get it placed right up against this pole that we built specifically to hold our extraction buttons. Yeah, looking good. Perfect. With that placed, let's go ahead and rename this button _call elevator to make sure we know what it's doing. And we'll alt drag to make our second button and place that against the pole on the elevator. And this one we're going to rename to be called button activate elevator, so we know what it's doing. Perfect. Buttons are in place. So with the buttons in place, we're going to need to set some things to their default positions before setting up the animation for the elevator. So we'll grab our elevator here and drag it down into the pit. If we follow it in, you'll notice that I have a pit here, and I've actually already set a volume. The volume is going to be for when the elevator enters it with the player on it, it will teleport them to a teleporter point. So we have our volume waiting here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the volume settings really fast, just to see that really all I have going on is the volume is placed, it sits over where the elevator will enter, and the scale is set to 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, just so that it's not so big. Okay, with that set up, let's get our cover put on because we need to make sure this cover sits at the default position. Because these are built with LEGO Brick Editor, we can actually use that to snap them into position with other Brick Editor built things. So I can just drag this down and it will auto snap to make sure everything's covered. Perfect, right where we want it. And the last thing we'll want is a teleporter because when the player enters the volume, they need to be teleported somewhere. So we'll place the teleporter they'll go to right here. And since we're working with the teleporter, let's go ahead and bind the teleporter function to the onEnter event of the volume. So we'll find our volume and we'll click on enter. So when they enter the volume, they'll teleport to this teleporter. Now let's move it right by the button just so it's a bit closer. With that done, we're going to need to build our animations. So we'll jump into the content drawer again, and we'll look for a cinematic sequencer. So we'll drag the sequencer into the world, make sure we have it at a position here. Again, we can hide all of our devices later. I just want it nearby so I can access it quickly. We'll go to our sequence option and click level sequence to make a new one called Animate Elevator. Go ahead and double click to open our animation window, and we need to add a few things to it. Now, let's go ahead and click the add here. We'll add an actor track and we'll search for elevator because we're going to need the button activate elevator. We'll need an actor track for the actual elevator itself. And then we'll need an actor track for our door, which is called LEGO Extract Tunnel Door. So with all these here, we have what we need to animate. I do want to make sure that our out point is correct. And I think for now, we're just going to have it play, we'll set our out point to 90 frames. So 30 frames a second, that is 3 seconds. For testing, that's perfect. And then you can go in and adjust the settings as you see fit. So let's bind a track to our activation button really quick. We'll hit plus, and we'll just want to make sure the transform is listed here because the button also needs to be animated to the right places. If the player can't get to the door, the first thing we're going to want to do is open the door for them. So with our door at its initial point, we'll go ahead and set a keyframe at this transform point because this is where it ends. Then we want the door to open before the elevator has a chance to interact with it. So I will drag this over and we'll say at about 15 frames or half a second, the door needs to be at its first vertical position. So we'll open the location keyframe and we'll set a keyframe on up. And then we'll just drag the door down until it's where we think it should be. That looks pretty good to me. Then we'll go to 30. And let's see, set another keyframe this time on, I'm going to make one quick change here so the door moves a little more smooth. Let's put a keyframe on left here so that it doesn't animate at an angle. And then we'll set one more keyframe on left here. And then we'll change that value so the door kind of slides out of the way. So this is what our animation is going to look like now. So it'll go down and then over. Perfect. That animation looks good to me. Let's go ahead and collapse this and let's animate our elevator. Looks like the button decided it didn't want to move for me. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that up location on the button is set here then. Okay, perfect. All right, let's animate our elevator. So we'll need to expand out this here, and this one is just moving up. So we'll set it here. And I think we said we wanted it to come up at the 90 frame mark, so a 3-second rise. And all we have to do now is grab that up, add a keyframe, and drag this up until it's where we would like it to be placed. And I think the actual number I'm looking for is 2746. Let's go look and see if that lines up with our bricks. It does. Beautiful. Okay. So this would be its initial or new position. So our animation is almost complete. We just need to get our button to do the same. So with our button, we'll go ahead and place a keyframe at the transforms. That location keyframe, perfect. Then we can drag over to 90. And we want the up for the button to be here. And we'll just drag the button active until it's at the height we'd like it to be. And now we should have a nice, smooth animation from all of our objects coming in. Beautiful. Okay, let's save it. So now that that is here, we just need to configure the way this is going to play. So when they call the elevator, we need the animation to play first. So let's go ahead and grab our sequencer. And inside of our functions, we have the play function, and we'll search for our button, and we have button call elevator, and this is going to be set to on interact. Then we want to reverse it when they go the other way, which is when they actually activate the elevator. So when they activate the elevator, we'll play it backwards. With this active, there should be a weird popping thing that will happen. To fix that, we can change finish completion status override and make sure we change this to force keep state. So this will keep the final state of that animation until we do something else with it. So when we call it, it'll go back to its initial point, we'll teleport out, and everything should work. This is all we need to do to set up the first part of our extraction point. So let's save all of our work and take a look to see how this is going to look in gameplay. All right, our game is loaded and everything is ready. Let's walk over and interact with our button. We'll want to change that text later. Everything seems to have risen as we expect. Let's get on the elevator, head down, and we teleport, and the door closes. So now our extraction point functionality is there, locked, and works. The next thing we're going to do is add some juice and some excitement to let all the other players in the game know that we are extracting and have them come chase after us. Now that we're back in UEFN, we want to make some noise when the button is called, right? When the player hits the extract button, we need to let everybody else know this is happening. So we're going to use some visuals and a timer to make that happen. So first things first, let's go here and search for a timer, drag the timer device in. So a couple things we'll want to configure. First of all, I'm going to set the time to 5 seconds just to make testing easy. It's going to count down. We'll name this extraction timer so we know what it is. We do not need to interact with it. Anybody can activate it. And then we'll set the timer running text to extraction happening so we know. And we'll leave a little space so that the numbers can be put in after. With the text set, we'll change the completion behavior to reset so the timer can be used repeatedly. And visible during game, we'll just leave it hidden. We don't need to show the timer during game. Then we'll bind our start function to our elevator call buttons on interacted event. Great. Timer mostly set up. Now that we have that put into place, let's add some lights that flash when things start. To do that, we'll go up here and add a light, and I'm going to add a spotlight. Let's drag this kind of into our area a little bit. I'm actually going to set it inside our lamp so it looks like it's coming from our extraction lamppost. Perfect. Let's give this a bit of an angle so that it interacts with the ground. We'll change this intensity to 50 so that the world actually receives the color. I'm going to set the color to a nice bright red. If I want to give it a little bit more of an angle and actually a little bit more intensity there just to make it really, really bright. All right, cool. This is there. This is there. I think we're in a pretty good place. So when we rotate this, you'll see the red hitting the different parts of the world. Yeah. Okay, great. With that set up, you're going to think Tom's lost his mind, but we're going to use another cinematic sequencer. So now we just want to actually animate this light and have it happen when we call an elevator. So we'll go here, drop our cinematic sequencer in, and create a new sequence right here. We'll call this light animation. And then we're going to quickly animate the light so that it rotates around the pivot point and just looks like it's flashing. So we'll grab the spotlight, drop it in, and we need to bind a transform track to this. Set a keyframe at rotation. And we'll say this can go pretty quickly. So we'll do like a 1 second. You know what, let's do a 2 second just to make sure it's a little more smooth. And I think we want to play with yaw. We do. All right, great. So let's set a keyframe at yaw. We have, and we'll just rotate this almost all the way around like that. So we go all the way to here. And you know what? To make it fun, let's see what the yaw value is here. It's minus 171. So we'll actually add another little bit here. And we'll change the yaw there also. So theoretically, if we do this, it'll kind of wiggle back and forth to make some noise. Great. Let's save that and hook up this sequencer to the right events we need to use. So we'll go to the sequencer here, and we're going to have it play this animation when the elevator is called. And then we'll stop it once the player has extracted. So we'll click here, and we'll look for a button again. And when they activate the elevator, we can simply tell them to stop on interact. One last thing we want to make sure we do is loop playback so that it happens over and over again, and we don't need to worry about finishing the completion state. With that, we should be able to save and test our extraction zone. I'm going to push changes, and let's take a look to see if we've successfully made an exciting, juicy extraction zone. Okay, we've loaded into our game, and the moment of truth is upon us. We'll go ahead and interact with the button. The message has started, but I'm not seeing, oh, I am. I see the light. And it's very slowly moving, so we might want to make that a little faster. But when I go to extract, the light stops, and I'm free. So there you have it. We've created a basic setup to have an extraction area. Thanks for hanging out, and good luck developing.